a short burst of speed. So he figured to get as close to that Pinto as he could before he charged. It turned out he'd misjudged by about a step and a half. Of course, Patches didn't know that, and he was set to keep right on going, till sundown at least. Meantime, Sam and Manuel were doing their best to hide the old wagon under the mine. And Pancho was breezing along after Patches just like he'd been told to. Kelso figured it was about time to come back and get the wagon, but he found it gone. The wheels had left an easy trail, though, and anyway, he was the kind of horse thief who could track bees through a blizzard. Manuel knew they were in big trouble, and he was doing his best to help. So he'd made himself a gunfighter. It looked more like a possum with the epizootie, but he'd loaded both barrels of the old hammer-action scatter gun for real and tied strings to the triggers. So if the dummy got shot at, it'd shoot back. Sam knew a stuffed galoot like that hanging out the window would be a dead giveaway.
Say, Manuel, why don't you get a sack of corn out of the wagon and cut it open? Patches is going to need a good feed before we start out.
Si, senor. I do it.
He'd just made an excuse to get the boy out of the shack so he could move the dummy out of sight. But then he stopped for another look. Back in the shadows, old Deadeye didn't look so bad. Well, they needed all the help they could get, so Sam hooked the strings up the way Manuel had them in the first place.
Where's Patches? Couldn't you find him, fella?
If Pancho can't find him, nobody can.
Well, he might come back on his own. Then again, he might not. Looks like we're gonna have to do some walking.
Do you think Council will find the wagon?
Probably.
Pancho and I can stay here and take care of things.
No, I wouldn't want that. Besides, you're gonna have to help me with the horses.
Pancho can stay here by himself.
You really think he'd stay here alone?
Sure he will, if I tell him to.
Well, it's worth a try. I'll go round up some grub.
Pancho, oígame. You're gonna have to stay here, all alone, and take care of that wagon. And if Council comes, you fight him good, see? We'll be gone an awful long time, but don't you leave this wagon, not for anything in the world. He won't stay now, and guard the wagon. I told him.
Well, the sooner we get started, the sooner we get back.
Adios, Pancho.
Right after Pancho was given his orders, his two friends moseyed away. The poor doggy wished he could follow.
No, Pancho. You have to stay. Remember what I told you. Stay.
but it was his duty to stay. Pancho then started his long, lonely vigil, not knowing when it would end. His not to question nor reason, but only to stay and defend. Naturally, Pancho had no way of knowing when his partners would come back, or even if they ever would. But he settled right down to do his job just the same. Now that the people had gone, the old mine began coming back to life. The little spring underneath it was the only sweet water for miles around that didn't dry up in the hot season. And it brought all kinds of critters in from the desert, like these coati Mondays. So the old pile of rotting timbers had gradually turned into a kind of high-class desert resort, complete with swimming pools. The old tool shed, though, had been taken over by a whole family of sloths. They were javelina, the fierce little wild pigs of the desert, and everybody always gave them plenty of room. Nobody knows quite how, but a horse can sense water for miles, and Patches had finally found his way to the old mine. Pancho was sure glad to see a friendly face. His orders hadn't said anything about guarding horses, but after all, Patches was part of the outfit. Coati Mondays are a kind of desert version of the raccoon, with just as much of a reputation for curiosity and mischief. And all those shiny doodads in Sam's wagon were too much to resist. Before they were through, they got into everything, including a box of bandages Sam carried for square dances and local elections.